for a specific where you're always comparing things to 1, but we'll see that in a little bit. I would expect by now you've done this question. I'm going to take time to take it up right now so you can compare your answer to mine. So Ferd shovels 6 driveways in 60 minutes and earns $24. So there's a few ratios in there, and in fact I can almost write that if I wanted to call. I could call D driveways. Minutes could be, yeah, sure. How about time? And this would be money or earnings. How about E for earnings? Okay, so driveways, time, and earnings. So you can almost make a ratio of 6 to 60 to 24 or something like that. Noticing it all is also 60 minutes is 1 hour. Keeping that in mind, that might help us, because I see a question down here that has 3 hours. So instead of dealing with minutes, I could just work with hours. Anyways, looking at part A then, it says how much would he earn for 9 driveways? So what it looks like to me is I'm going to make a ratio between driveways and earnings, and I'm not going to worry about the time right now because this question has nothing about time. So all I'm going to do is make a one ratio between driveways and earnings. And the way that the information that we have is that ratio is 6 to 24. But we want to know, what if he does 9 driveways? Right? So we can treat it like we have so far in the course, making a little T-chart and saying 6 to 24 is 9 to, I don't know, n, I guess we've been using. And here, again, look for numbers that work nicely, and I know that 6 times 4 is 24. So that means that, give myself more space, 9 times 4 will be his earnings for 9 driveways. 9 times 4 is 36. So therefore, Ferd would earn $9 times 4, which is $36, for 9 driveways. Okay. Part B. How many could he do in 3 hours? Well, looking at the ratios that we have, here, we know if we're going to make a ratio of driveways to time, and it looks to me, because he's talking in hours, instead of thinking about 60 minutes, I'm going to work with 1 hour. I'm going to they're the same thing. So instead of writing 6 driveways in 60 minutes, I'm going to say 6 driveways in 1 hour. And that must be equal to, I don't know, how many driveways in 3 hours. And as we have been, we can just use our T-chart to figure this out. This one seems a little easy. I bet you could do it in your head, but just to follow the strategy. 6 in 1 hour is how many in 3? So you can probably see this is a multiply by 3. So multiply 6 by 3, which would be 6 times 3 is 18. Okay? So therefore, we could shovel. Of course, this is not taking into account that after you've been shoveling driveways for a number of hours, you get tired and you might slow down. This is assuming he maintains the same rate. Okay. Part C, How long does it take him to shovel one driveway? All right, so this is saying if I use my D to T ratio, 6 driveways in 1 hour would be equal to, I don't know how many driveways. Wait, I said that wrong. I said that wrong. Take it back. Because we know how long can it take him to do one. So 1 driveway in, I don't know how long. Now this does bring to mind the idea that, this is 1 hour. And if you think about it, it's going to be a number less than an hour. It's going to be some decimal place. We could keep doing the question this way and get an answer as a decimal, but I kind of wonder if instead of writing 1 hour here, we would be better off to say 60 minutes. So I'm going to jump from using hours to minutes and say 6 driveways in 60 minutes, because really it's the same thing. It's just I'm going to get an answer in minutes this time. Equals 1 driveway, and I don't know how many. Okay, so I'm changing my ratio just because I'm changing my units here. But again, the purpose is just to end up with an answer in minutes. It makes more sense to get an answer like 12 minutes or something instead of 0.27 hours. Just so we can think in terms of minutes instead of hours when it's less than an hour. So make our chart. 6 to 60 is 1 to, I don't know. And 6 to 1 is divide by 6. Right? 6 divided by 6 equals 1. 60 divided by 6 is the number of minutes for 1 driveway. And 60 divided by 6 is 10. So 10 minutes per driveway. Which, by the way, is much nicer than the point. I think it's like 0.16 or something we would have gotten. 0.16 hours. We don't really think about 0.16 hours. We think about 10 minutes. Okay. And then part D is how much is he paid per driveway. So we're back to looking at rate of pay, and we're going to look at the number of driveways to earnings, right? And we know he earns for 6 driveways, he earns $24. And we want to know how much he earns for 1 driveway. Okay? Make our table. 6 to 24 is 1 to, I don't know. And again here, could go 2 different ways. Either way would be fine. But let's go for this way. 6 to 24 is times 4. So 1 times 4. So he must earn $4 a driveway. This, by the way, is setting us up nicely for our unit rate. Okay, so now we are talking about unit rate and expectation, solve problems involving unit rate. Okay, so what is a rate? Well, it compares quantities with different units. So example, dollars per driveway, 2 different things. And essentially what you're looking for per unit, there's different ways you could do it. Essentially what you do is, we are using the equivalent ratios. We're saying this is going to be how many, like this question might be, state the unit rate will be how many dollars earned per hour. Okay? Right? So how you would look at that then is you'd say, like the easy the straightforward answer, divide 45 by 6. But I just want to show you why, okay? If we looked at this and we drew out our little grid, essentially we're saying 45 to 6 equals, I don't know how many, for 1 hour, right? So 45 and 6, and I don't know, and 1, right? So I divide this side by 6 to get there. So if you divide 45 by 6, you can get your unit rate per hour. And again, I gotta run to my spreadsheet to go 45 by 6 because it's not a nice number. 45 by 7.5, so $7.50 an hour. So the unit rate is okay. Stock market loses 1,500 points in 30 days. Well, what are we saying? We're saying 1,500 to 30. We want to know how many per day equals, I don't know, to 1. Again, you could use the grid. Of course, you could use the grid, but the quick answer is just divide 1,500 by 30, which is 50 points per day. You could do that in your calculator, 1,500 divided by 30. Okay. Ferd walks 5.3 kilometers in 1.2 hours. So we want to know his unit rate. We want to know how many kilometers per hour does he walk. Well, so we know he does, and we don't like these because they're decimal points, but sometimes we use them. 5.3 to 1.2, and we want to know how many per 1, right? So let's set up our T. Again, the quick answer, by the way, 5.3 divided by 1.2 is the answer. But let's again remind ourselves why. Is, I don't know, to 1. So to get from 1.2 to 1, I divide by 1.2. So over here, I've got to divide by 1.2. No nice pretty numbers. Another reason we don't like decimals. Okay, so we'll do that just separately. 5.3 divided by 1.2. Ooh, nice big decimal. How about 442? 4.4. We'll write it up to 1 decimal place. Everything else is in 1 decimal place. So the idea with unit rate is you're thinking of per one thing. The best one is per hour, right? And again, let's look at this question. Does it make sense, by the way? So if you can walk 5.3 in 1.2 hours, greater than an hour, how much can you do in 1 hour? Makes sense. That's pretty close to 1 hour. So our end answer should be pretty close to 5.3, and it is. I think the answer was 4.4 though, wasn't it? Yep, I made an error there. 4.4 kilometers in 1 hour. Let's fix that up. 4.4 kilometers per hour. Okay? Okay, so here's some questions you can try. And when you're done, the questions, I'll help you get started, but you're going to do this supermarket assignment. And I will help you with that, and I'm actually going to collect that one. But I'll talk to you about that in a little bit. Okay? So you go ahead and work away at these questions here. Raise your hand and ask me if you didn't understand something in the lecture, and we are done.